back to Collectively Unhinged Therapy Talk, the space where two therapists get real about what it means to be human in and out of the therapy room. If you don't know by now, I'm going to remind you. My name is Melissa,
Wow.
and with me is
Hi.
my super sarcastic co host.
Hi, I am Courtney, if you haven't been aware of that by now.
Hey, why don't you know our names by now? Hello, what's going on?
Just a reminder, yes, we are Courtney and Melissa, licensed therapists, owners of Strong Mind Mental Health, and newly podcasters. Yeah,
I think they can tell by the audio and how much we
1000%.
struggle with words.
Yeah. And so today, I mean, that's, I think, the perfect segue into what we're going to be talking about today, which is imposter syndrome, right? Like today, we're just totally digging into that topic that so many of us, regardless of whatever field or whatever it is that you do, deal with. And that is imposter syndrome, feeling like maybe you don't belong here, or maybe somebody's going to find out that you don't know what you're doing and kick your butt out. So yeah, that's the topic for today.
Okay. Well, that's a great intro to giving a bunch of people anxiety now about imposter syndrome.
But
Yeah, so
but
go good.
actually, before we get into that, I wanted to introduce kind of like a new segment, a new idea into our podcast, and that's going to be the unhinged moment of the week. So, Melissa, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you have an unhinged moment of the week for yourself?
Girl, yeah, I have unhinged every day. So yeah, we're closing on a house tomorrow. We're moving. Um, my unhinged moment of the week was on Sunday, which, common misconception, guys. The week starts on Sunday. I had that conversation with somebody the other day and I was like, America. But that's a whole side note. um, so Sunday I get up, obviously it's I think it was Father's Day actually. Um, and I look around, we have been packing, there's boxes everywhere. Everything is a mess. I literally looked at my husband and I was like, if you don't start putting boxes in the car right now, I'm gonna have a panic attack. Like I cannot function like this. It made me crazy. Not like for real crazy. I was just like irritable. And so this man on Father's Day was like putting boxes into his car, which he's driving to Orlando right now because we're moving to Orlando. But it definitely helped a lot. I definitely almost had a panic attack looking around the house and just you know, bo boxes on boxes on boxes. If you moved, you know what I'm talking about. Well, what's your moment, Courtney?
Um, I don't really have one. I mean, aside from just like the craziness that is in my house on a daily basis, I wouldn't really say that I had like such an unhinged moment, but I will say that I like busted my ass the other day when I was like I was like running to go to a session. I was like a minute late, but I desperately needed coffee. Um and then I'm, like, really trying to, like, get to the room to, like, do my session as quick as possible. I'm, like, looking at the time, and it's, like, 2 minutes. I'm, like, already 2 minutes late. I was like, "Oh my god, I need to hurry up." Trying to drink coffee at the same time, and I literally busted my ass, trying to do that. So that was fun. So I'm, like, I'm limping into the room to do the session, acting like everything's completely fine. So I could say that.
Did you spill your coffee everywhere?
No, I didn't. That was amazing.
Oh my god, I would have cried. I feel like that would have been like you're limping into room coffee all over your shirt. You let this drop. Your client's like, "Yo, do you need therapy today more than I
I
do? What
probably
is
did.
going
I
on?"
probably did in that moment. No, I did not. Surprisingly, I'm so happy about that. But no, the coffee was safe in all of this. So yeah. So, with that being said, let's talk about what we are getting into, which is, as I mentioned before, what is imposter syndrome? Like, let's at least just start there so we're all kind of like on the same page. Melissa, what does imposter syndrome feel like to you?
Oh, like really bad negative self-talk and anxiety, right? So, yeah, I think that's like the main thing. I think when you have and of course everybody feels it differently and I hear clients like express it in different ways, but when there is imposter syndrome, it does bring up a lot of doubt. And I think that the anxiety comes from like also fear of being judged, a fear of not belonging, like people realizing that you don't belong, right? A lot of it is like a what if they can like tell that I don't know? Or like, I feel like everybody's better than me, everybody's smarter than me, or like everybody belongs and I don't, right? So it's a roller coaster and it's a lot of different feelings. Sometimes it can even be anger, right? If you feel like you are like going above and beyond to like try to meet your expectations. And with imposter syndrome, sometimes the expectations aren't always super accurate. But like it's anger too, because you're like, why am I not enough? Like, what's the point of doing all of this if I'm still not gonna belong? Um, so I guess that was kind of like a long answer, but it looks differently for different people and it brings up a whole lot of emotions that ultimately lead to you just purely shitting on yourself, which is not what we're going for here.
Right, I mean, I think in its simplest terms, it's that idea of you don't know what you're doing, or you think you don't know what you're doing, or you feel that way, or that intimidation that you have maybe with the people around you and the comparisons with the people around you. I think it's very prevalent in helping professions, especially in the very early years when you are just starting off. Because granted, you're new, you're fresh into the game, so you are learning as you go. So there is going to be a lack of experience there in and of itself. So you're already battling that. You're already dealing with that. But it's not something that maybe we're even so much aware of that that is what we are feeling. Like we're just like, in this moment of thinking, "Oh, am I not doing this correctly?" Or if maybe they want to send me into the office, like they're asking to speak with me because like I did something wrong, like almost like an automatic thought, like not sometimes realizing that all those little things are just like an aspect of maybe feeling like you are an imposter in the things that you're doing, or maybe feeling like you have to constantly prove your value or your worth to your boss, to the people around you, to yourself, to your family. I literally just got out of a session with a client talking about exactly that in a nutshell, feeling like her value is connected to her performance, how she performs, how she does well, and it's something that, again, I don't think we even realize how much that truly comes up for us on like a daily basis, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that comes with imposter syndrome is minimizing the
For
accomplishments and the
sure.
positives, right? Like yeah, but I only did that because like it was easier or like, I lucked out or like so and so helped me. And honestly, like in putting yourself down, then you're gonna see like the quote unquote failures. As more of a negative. I say quote unquote failures because sometimes people are like, I failed, and you hear their story and you're like, what did you fail at? Like, I'm a little confused. What are you talking about? Um, but also failure is a part of like success, right? Like you learn from a bunch of different things. So I don't even see it as a bad thing. But yes, it's like you're focused on all of the bad that is like very emotionally driven, like emotionally driven thoughts, but like the good is just completely ignored or minimized.
For
So
sure.
part of battling imposter syndrome is seeing some of the positives and like focusing on that too.
So what would you say? We talked a little bit about this in our grad school versus real life episode that we did. I think it was like our second episode out. Please go check that out if you're interested in hearing further about that. But what would you say, Melissa, was kind of like one of your first, like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing type of moment where you thought that?
Girl, I am a big I tend to live in imposter syndrome a lot, but so yeah, I mean, so like I think imposter syndrome, before I answer the question, is such a normal thing because it shows that you know that you don't know everything. And I don't think that everything in like moderation is good, right? Do I think that you should live in imposter syndrome and like always put yourself down or really ever put yourself down? I phrase that weird. No, but it's also good to go into situations and know you don't know everything and you're willing to like be
Right.
open and learn. But part of fighting imposter syndrome is remembering that no one knows everything. So if they belong, then you belong because they don't know everything, right? But going back to me and my imposter syndrome, I would say the first time that they were like, "We're gonna record this video of you having a mock therapy session with somebody." I was like, "Bro, what? How am I supposed to talk?" Those 5 minutes seemed so long. Really, it was like 15 minutes. You had to like transfer whatever. It's a long boring details that nobody needs to know. But like even talking to somebody for 15 minutes, like faking it, not asking a question, like just giving reflections. I was like, how am I gonna do this? And I would go into sessions with so much anxiety, like thinking about the time. Right, that was, like, a big one for me, like, how do I talk to somebody for an hour without them feeling like we're not working on things or, like,
Right.
it's repetitive, and now it's, like, I find it to be, like, one of the easiest things, maybe I can just talk forever, or get people to talk forever, but yeah, that was my big imposter syndrome. I was like, "I'm not gonna be able to help people." And here's the thing, right? It's normal for it to sometimes come up still too, right? Like,
For
I don't know,
sure.
I think it's normal for everybody. Sometimes after a session, I'm like, "Man, did I just, like, suck? Like, was I just not a good therapist?" So it's important to talk about and, like, this like, just let it out with people who are gonna have, more, unbiased feedback for you.
True, for sure. I've been practicing for about 10 years now, more or less, and I still very much feel like I get those moments again sometimes without even realizing it. I had a period last year of having a lot of clients that we're struggling with codependency. We're struggling with clients that they believed were partners that they believed were fit like more of like the narcissistic personality disorders. And it was coming up for me so much that I was like, first and foremost, I was like, okay, I knew how to deal with codependency. I knew how to deal with narcissism. But then I don't know, like I just had like a moment where it was coming up so much. Some of them were, like, not really, like, making too much progress. I'm like, "Holy crap, is this me? Is there something that I'm doing wrong here? Maybe I need to get, like, further training on it," even to the point, like, I even signed up for, like, a whole course, spent, a couple $100 on, like, to become certified and helping survivors of narcissistic abuse, all this other stuff, just so I can get, like, further training and further understanding on it, when the reality of it is that that's just part of treatment sometimes. You're gonna get a lot of resistance. Codependency is not an easy thing to get over. Dealing with narcissism is not an easy thing to deal with. The combination of the two is not going to make for like an easy treatment plan and for helping somebody like see progress within the matter of a couple months. It's not easy. And I think I just needed a moment to realize that and to like get my head back on straight when it does come to that because it was something that totally led me down a path that I didn't need to take, although I'm grateful that I did. And I'm still in that course now and learning all those things. But I realized that it was very much fueled by feeling like an imposter. I've also had other moments where like a client will tell me in the next session, like, I really thought about like what you said in the last session and like it really just changed my whole view on things. And in my head, I'm like, what the hell did I say? I have no idea. No idea what the hell it is. What was so impactful for this person? I'll look at my notes. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is. And I'm like, I don't want to ask because then I'm gonna feel like an idiot for asking, like, "Well, what did I say?" I mean, I did eventually ask, like, I was like, "Fuck it," but, still, it's like, sometimes you don't realize how, that, like, yeah, you know what you're doing, you're not perfect, but you know what you're doing, for sure.
Yeah, it is always interesting when people are like, you're helping so much and you changed my life and you're like, "Really? Me? I did that? That's that's great." Yeah, but the point is
Mm,
like it comes up for everybody, right? And I don't see it as a bad thing. I think if it's even like emotions, right? You hear people all the time talk about like negative emotions and like it all plays into it, right? I don't think that emotions are negative. I think that the wording makes a big difference. And when you see things as negative versus positive, you put yourself down more, you make yourself feel like something's wrong with you. Where imposter syndrome, like I had mentioned previously, holds so many different emotions that aren't seen as quote unquote positive.
right.
So it doesn't set you up for success if you're sitting there thinking, "Man, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I so hard on myself? Like, why do I think X, Y, and Z?" Versus like, well, everybody goes through this and everybody has periods of imposter syndrome. And it just comes from a place of one wanting to succeed and wanting to like prove something to yourself, prove something to others, like all the different things. But two, again, knowing that like you don't know everything. And I think the second thing in working through imposter syndrome is almost like that acceptance component where you can't control, especially in therapy, where you can't control how your client's going to respond. You can't control if you're going to like the therapeutic relationship is going to click or it's going to feel comfortable for them. All you can do is, gain the knowledge and do the best that you can, and it's the same for any career that you're working. You can't control how other people respond to you. Um, so I think a big part of it is also just, like, acceptance and knowing that if you're not where you wanna be at right now, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you don't belong, right? You just have to keep working on those goals that you're setting up for yourself.
Very true. And so now I think everybody can get a little taste, a little idea that the panic is normal, the anxiety is normal. It's not that you are unqualified. It's just maybe like you are still learning, right? But the danger can sometimes be when those thoughts kind of like run a little bit unchecked. You start to see that they're impacting you in the way that you are showing up in the room, you're showing up in your workspace and how it is affecting you in those areas. You know, it can look like maybe you are over preparing. It can look like maybe, you're feeling like you're not good enough or you're minimizing your own wins, like Melissa was talking about before, comparing yourselves to other people. I mean, social media in and of itself, again, I always say this could be like a whole other topic in and of itself, but the comparisons that we can draw, especially on looking at other people in our fields, in whatever field that you're in, doing the same thing, but maybe doing it better, maybe doing it 10 times better, right? And then in comparison, how does it look like for you right now? So this can show up in a lot of different ways, which is why it is so important for you to be able to reflect, to try to be mindful, to check in with yourselves in a lot of different ways. And like I mentioned earlier, like having those moments where like a client is telling me that something that I said to them like really changed their perspective or stayed with them. And I'm like, really? Like, what did I say? Like, are you sure? Like that I did that for you? We have those moments, right? We even at therapists that have decades of experience, that had longer experience than me, than Melissa, you have those moments. It's just part of it, right? It comes with the feelings of the job that you're doing. It comes with the questions. You're human. You're not a robot. Although again, I do feel like sometimes the culture, the therapy culture, the social media culture, all that, it can sometimes fuel a little bit of the imposter syndrome. Melissa, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people portray themselves, uh, way, what's the word I'm looking for? Not realistic on social media, right? Like, I don't know, you see it all the time. Um, People will like talk up their progress or success, what they're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do think part of it is like manifesting what we want to see in our lives and our goals. And if like that positivity is what helps you, that's wonderful. It doesn't, a lot of people are like, I'd rather be realistic. A lot of people are like, no, I want to like put out into the world what I want. But through social media, there's definitely a lot of that, because you don't get the full picture, right? You don't get the full picture of, like, how much somebody has, like, struggled or quote unquote "failed" to get to where they're at. Some people will post that part, but others it's just, like, a very positive, like, one-sided view. So, yeah, social media in a lot of ways, I mean, we can like you said, we can do a whole podcast on this because it's also, like, the physical component, the family component, like, people make their lives seem more perfect or exciting or adventurous than they are. I even know somebody that would post like beach pictures and I would text them and be like, "Girl, you were at work. What are you doing posting beach pictures on a Wednesday?" Like, but that's the thing about, that's the thing about social media. It definitely fuels that because we tend to think that we should be at a different place. Also just listening to, at least for a therapist, I don't know if this happens to you, Courtney, but listening to like other therapists who are like very knowledgeable in one area, like talk about all of their knowledge. I'm like, damn, do I not know enough? But then I take a step back and I'm like, well, I don't have like a specific thing that I focus on. I try to have like a little bit of everything, which is why I do like doing, the trainings and getting the continued education courses and like learning and educating myself more on like trauma. You mentioned codependency. So yeah, is again a little bit of everything, but there's definitely always gonna be people that know more than you, and you
For
just gotta,
sure.
take a step back and remember that that's okay. Like it's okay. You know more than the people, and other people are gonna know more than you. That's kind of just life. I don't know if you agree with that though.
No, I mean, for sure. And again, I think part of that is something that just like comes with as you grow and as you gain more experience that you don't have to know everything. Sometimes it could just be like your personality too. Like if you are a jack of all trades and you want to like constantly fuel yourself with all that information, it can be amazing. Doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in every single thing. I don't know, I don't remember, like, the exact quote, but it's kind of like I heard this once before about, like, if you try to be, like, an expert in everything, then you're an expert in nothing, or something like that. And so I feel like that does hold true, like, it is important for you to be good at what you do, but you also don't need to try to be an expert in everything because sometimes it just gets lost, and then you try to work with somebody, and it doesn't necessarily work out the way that you want it to because of the fact that you're trying to implement or have so many different things in your mind based off of all these different modalities and treatment stuff that it can just get lost. So that's why again I like learning these new things. I like being able to gain in my ability to understand these things better because it does help me feel more confident as well. But I'm also at this place where I'm like, okay, I'm learning it so it can help add to my toolkit, but I don't need to be perfect in it. So then, Melissa, I'll ask you kind of like going into that. Was when was the last time that like you felt confident in a session that you were doing and what did you feel like helped you with that?
Well, first, I do want to talk about this imposter voice. If it had a name and personality, what would it be? I want to ask you that. So, what would you name? What's the I want you to like, please speak in your imposter syndrome, imposter's voice. How would you
Oh,
describe
mm.
the thoughts or the voice or the personality that comes up when you are in those feels?
Fine, just like fuck my question then. The
Yeah, no, I don't want to. I want to answer the better one. I want you to answer the better one first.
well, I never gave my imposter syndrome thoughts or voice a name, but the first thing that comes up to mind is Betty. And so the voice has always just kind of like sounded like my own voice and it will say things like, "Okay, how am I supposed to help them with that? Um, what do I say next? Um, do you even know how to treat this?" Um, what's another one that came up for me kind of recently? It would be like, "Okay, so this person is not doing that well. Do I need to, like, maybe refer them to somebody else?" And then that I think that's, like, kind of what it has sounded like in, um in the past few months. What about you, Melissa?
Okay. For me, it's like more of like a, maybe I should address some core beliefs in therapy, man. For me, it's more of like a, man, you're a failure, right? So that's where it like comes down to, which is interesting, right? Because at the same, I just mentioned it, like I don't see failure as like a negative thing, but that's like where I guess when I'm in my feels is where it comes down to, right? Where you're like, "Ah, you're not helping anybody because, like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, you're a failure. Like, you have this career and, like, LOL, you're doing nothing with it."
Mm.
So, my imposter syndrome person is kind of a bully, man. Like, what is that? So, I feel like we should, I don't know. I should talk about that a little more, maybe. Okay.
What does that voice sound like to you? Does that remind you of anything from your past, Melissa?
Bro, maybe my mother, nah, just kidding. She never told me I was a failure. She never was like you, but she was super nice. She just never was like you flat out have failed. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it comes from a place of, like, perfectionism, like, uh, being really hard on myself if I'm not, like, perfect in every way, not taking a step back and saying, like, "Alright, like, there's different chapters, like, there's chapters for anybody where you're overwhelmed, you're not, like, as focused, like, so many different things are happening, so, like, obviously, you're not gonna be 100%." But that's hard to remember in the moment because
For
when you
sure.
have unrealistic expectations, that's a part of it. You wanna be 100% even if your house is burning to the ground, and it's like, "Girl, you're homeless, you can't be 100% right now."
Mm.
So it's just taking a step back and seeing everything that's going on for what it is and adjusting. But going into this question, which you said, when did I actually feel confident in a session? Um, I want to say a lot of the times I feel confident in sessions, especially more so now because I have taken the time to like, first of all, it's experience through, like, working with a bunch of different people, but also just, like, those courses that I mentioned. So there's the times I don't feel confident are when I have people talk to me about things that I don't have a bunch of experience in. And I'm very honest about that. I'm always like, "Hey, I don't have a lot of experience here. I'm gonna look into this. I'm gonna do some research." Um, but even then, it doesn't feel like a lack of confidence. When I'm feeling okay, it feels more like a normal thing where I'm like, "Look, like I haven't heard this often, so I need to take a second and, like, do the research to think about how I wanna help you and how I wanna respond before I just, like, start, talking out of my ass pretending that I know what I'm saying. Uh, what about for you, though?
So my biggest thing is just like I need to take notes. If I don't take notes, then I feel like I'm kind of just lost in the sauce. And what I mean by that is, like I go through on average 25 sessions a week. So it's like you're talking to 25, maybe plus different people, whether it's individuals, couples, families. So trying to remember every single one of like those conversations and sessions and what you worked on and what they talked about going into the next week is unrealistic. And being able to like write notes on, okay, this is what we talked about. This is what they're going to be working on during the week. This is what we're going to be focusing on in the next session, or like this is what my game plan that I want to be able to focus on in the next session has done a lot to help me feel more confident because I just overall just feel more prepared going in. Even if I don't know in that moment what I'm gonna be working on with them, or like I just need time to like process and reflect, then being more prepared in that sense has helped me feel more confident. That I'll also say too that sometimes in the session, just like simply going with the flow and sometimes not having anything prepared just because like maybe that's just the type of client that you're working with that you kind of just have to go with whatever's there. Um, being in that moment of just, like, telling myself, like, "Okay, I know this client, I know what to expect with them, and I know that no matter what, I can figure it out," has done a lot to help me just with, like, "Okay, even if I don't know what it is in the moment, I can figure it out. I can work through it, and I can let them know." I've told clients plenty of times, like, "Look, I don't know." Like, "What you're talking about?" I'm like, "I don't know." We're gonna have to figure it out. We're gonna have to see where this goes, and we're gonna have to, like, work through it together, but it's okay if you don't have it figured out right now in this moment. We can work towards it, and then just see, like, where it takes us, and sometimes, like, letting go of that expectation that you need to have things figured out, or you need to have a plan in place, or that you need to have a treatment goal or something like that. Taking that out can do a lot to help just, like, kind of put you in a better place to just, like, talk and to just, like, process what you're thinking and feeling without any of the expectations that come with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that I mean, we're talking about therapy 'cause that's what we do, but that's the same for any job, right? Like, you don't have to have a plan, you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to ask questions. Like, that's a part of it too. I've seen a lot of people like make mistakes because they're afraid to ask a question. And it's like, girl, just go ask a question. Like, it's okay. You're not supposed to know everything. That's life, right? So yeah, that's definitely a part of it. So Courtney, what helps you when you're spiraling in your imposter thoughts? How are you managing?
Mm.
What little tidbits of advice do you have for our listeners?
So, as I'm as I always say, I have to practice what I preach. I am very big proponent that I'm not going to tell my clients to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So, and I think I also mentioned this in like another podcast episode too, that I even went so far as developing like a whole workbook on habit formation and like how to be able to reflect on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, because I do feel like reflection is one of the biggest keys on just like helping you have that self-awareness of what is going on with you. Um I'll say even further, like to give like kind of a small example. This has nothing to do with imposter syndrome, but just like in terms of reflection in and of itself. I found that my eye was twitching for like a week. And I'm like, why the hell is my eye twitching? And but it came with being able to reflect and bring into the forefront of my mind, okay, well, like this is all the stuff that is going on, yada yada. I come to find out like it was just like another form of feeling stressed. And like it was like coming out in this like more physical way. But like it came through me being able to reflect on that to understand like that's what was going on with me. It's the same thing with the that imposter voice Betty that I mentioned before. When she comes up, it's me being able to reflect, especially after a session or at the end of the day. Okay, like how did I feel today? Like what was like my overall mood or vibe, or how was I feeling in between sessions? Like how what is my body even feeling right now in this moment? Being able to take that to understand where I'm at, to understand what I felt like was successful or what I'm proud of the day, because that's also very important. And then maybe what's something I want to adjust or focus more on or be better at in the next day. And then taking that thought, that intention into the next day and have that almost kind of like a daily affirmation, like this is my intention for the day. This is what I want to bring in into the day. And then again, reflect again at night. Like that for me, it's like it's a whole process of just being able to reflect so I know where I'm at.
Yeah, that is a bitch, bro. It's my that's my therapeutic feedback for you. But really what I should be commenting on is all the great feedback that you just gave you, but that's where my head went. Yeah, I mean, and checking in on yourself so important, like knowing the separation between like your actual thoughts and your imposter thoughts is a big one. For sure, because sometimes it feels like we are our imposter thoughts. And like, I don't know that I mean, some people will say, no, it feels like it's me and I haven't been able to separate it. But a lot of people will say, like, no, it feels like a different person. Because what you say to yourself when you're in a good place, when you're in a happy place, is very different than what you say to yourself when you're down or when you're sad or when you're angry. So it's also like that's part of therapy, right? Is learning how to gain that insight to have like that separation. Oh, okay, this isn't me talking. This is like my emotion talking. And something I like a lot that I've actually used with clients is like looking at your emotion almost as like this monster in your mind in order to like separate it. And the more insight you gain, the more you like de-escalate the monster, the smaller it gets until it fits in the palm of your hand. So it's like a little bit of visualization, but you can do that for imposter syndrome, right? When we're in it and we're anxious and we're angry and we're sad and we're disappointed and we're putting ourselves down, it's like this huge monster that's standing over you. So the more you're able to separate the thoughts and picture that it's coming from this monster, not from yourself, and the more you're able to say, like, "You're wrong. That's not true. And here's why that's not true. Look at all the things I've accomplished. Like, look at, so and so said this to me, and this is what I did, and all these different things." Like, the smaller you can make that imposter monster in the palm of your hand until it's nothing, right? So, it's a little technique. It works for some people, it doesn't for others, but, if it works, let me know. Give me some credit.
I would also say like the practice of receiving praise, of praising yourself, your successes, what you're proud of is also really important because it also helps to contradict or to challenge those thoughts that do come up for you in feeling like an imposter or confronting that monster in and of itself. The more that, and I know that maybe sometimes saying um successful or proud can be a trigger word for some people because they're like, "Oh, there's nothing that I feel proud of." Okay, get it. I hear you. Then start even smaller. Like, what if there's something that you can say, okay, well, I actually did this okay today. Or if you want to take it a step up, like, I actually did this good. Like, I did my job. I didn't get fired. Like, I nobody complained to me about something that I did wrong. Start small. Start there if you need to, but being able to reflect on your day, and but specifically incorporating more acknowledgement of what you are doing well or good or okay, however you want to phrase it, and then build up to, okay, well, I was actually proud of this today, or if I was actually successful in this today. It's uncomfortable at first, it's weird at first, you're probably like, "This is fucking stupid." I get all that because it's gonna feel uncomfortable, you're flexing a new muscle that you don't normally use, but the more that you practice it, the easier it will become, for sure, and I can say that every single one of my clients that I've done that with, they have all said the same thing, that it eventually gets them to a point where, like, they do it without even realizing that they're doing it because they have built it into a habit. So, and I will say further, this is kind of like just like a small plug. If you guys are interested in looking more into the workbook that I had created, it's called the Mindful Habit Builder. It's on Amazon. It's really just a more of a mental health perspective on building better habits. And when we're talking about better habits, it doesn't necessarily need to mean like more physical goals. It can mean mental goals too, like just feeling more positive about yourself. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I would encourage you to check it out. So outside of that, what else do we have for our listeners, Melissa? Do we have any lasting words, final words that you would like to share?
The only thing I will share is what a little bit of what I already said, but just to stress the importance of it. Don't minimize your accomplishments. I love that Courtney's like, "Did you get fired? You're killing it," right? So I don't know that I guess you could say that's an accomplishment depending on where you're at with work. Um, but a lot of times, there was a speaker really quickly because I know we're out of time, but there was a speaker that I heard in a TED talk, and she was talking about how when she got her papers published and when she was successful, the happiness would last like 30 minutes and then she'd be like, all right, right back to work. But if something didn't go her way, it would impact her emotionally for days. And if that doesn't describe us, I don't know what does. So it's having that knowledge to take a step back and, like just appreciate your accomplishments. Like, did you give yourself credit? Like, it could even be like a conversation that you had with a friend where normally you would like pop off. And this time you were like, you know, I don't want to do that. I'm going to engage in like healthy communication. Give yourself credit. Like, I don't know, you have fitness goals and you force yourself to go to the gym that day. Give yourself credit. Like, stop and see all of the positives in the day. That way, hopefully, I'm gonna coin that term, imposter monster.
You
Doesn't
totally
doesn't come
should.
back. Yeah, I know it doesn't come back as often, but that's what I wanted to leave everybody with.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Melissa. So I will say,
You're welcome.
I will say if imposter syndrome is showing up in your life, it does not mean that you're broken. Okay? We see you. We are you. If you haven't heard this episode, we are you, okay? And we promise it doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that you're human and you are growing. And we want to be able to remind you, you don't have to feel confident to be worthy. You don't need to feel ready to be enough. So, thank you for being here with us today. Imposter syndrome and all, Betty and all, the imposter monster and all. If you love this episode, share it with somebody who might need a reminder too. And we will see you next time for more chaos, catharsis, and collective unhingedness. Stay sane, or at least try. Bye.
Bye.